Without further ado, we'll start this presentation and panel. It's going to be a really fun chat with our international student ambassadors that all work within the International Enrollment Office. So now, this is what you came for. We're going to start introducing our international student panel. And again, if you have questions as we go through these panel discussions, please interject, and we're happy to address anything that you have in your mind. First up, we do have Salome. Salome is from Palmer's, Barbados. She's a fourth-year student in Hospitality and Tourism Management, which is one of our Bachelor of Commerce degrees in the Ted Rogers School of Management. A fun fact is that Salome has been involved with the International Student Support Office, which help international students with transitioning to Toronto, immigration, etc. And they've also been utilizing many of the LGBTQ plus student on campus supports. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Salome.
Good
Hello,
morning.
Salome.
Good morning or evening, everyone.
How's your morning going? Salome's in Toronto with me.
Yes, I am, and I can see that it is snowing outside. So very exciting.
Yeah, it's I think the first snowfall of the year that where like you wake up and the ground is just covered in white. Hopefully
Yes,
that doesn't scare our students, but I think it's kind of it's always a special feeling, the first
yeah.
snowfall at least.
Especially if you're coming to Canada, and experiencing snow for the first time.
Yeah. And I'm curious, have you been doing anything to keep you busy throughout quarantine?
So yeah, so
Or
before
sorry, the
this
pandemic?
Yeah, so before the semester started, I was spending a lot of time watching Netflix, so that was definitely good to keep me busy. But since the semester's been picking up, I find that I have less time for Netflix. So
Sure.
what I've been doing is really just keeping up a routine, with working out and things like that. But I'm really looking forward to the winter break where I can get back to Netflix.
Yes, yes. Amazing. Thank you, Salome. And in the Zoom chat, I'm actually posting Salome's blog post on Why Ryerson, so you can check out a little bit more about Salome. Next up, we have Vivian Knop, who is from Hanoi, Vietnam. She is, again, a fourth-year student in Hospitality and Tourism Management. So Vivian is a classmate of Salome's. And fun fact with Vivian. She loves going on exciting foodie trips every weekend and traveling to new places wherever she can. Give it up for Vivian. Hey, Vivian.
Hey, thanks, Derek. Good morning, good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me today. So my name is again Vivian, and yeah, I'm currently staying in Vietnam.
Yeah, and
So glad to share.
Vivian and I have worked together before. I used to recruit in Vietnam, and Vivian gave me some excellent recommendations on places to go, especially in Toronto, because I was like, where do I get good pho and good food items from Vietnam? So Vivian is quite the expert in local cuisine. Is
Thank
there anything
you.
you've been doing to stay busy throughout quarantine?
I actually did. So I think that the situation in Vietnam is a bit different. So that's how I can still kind of like go out and meet my friends up. But usually within this quarantine, I takes a lot of time to learn the stuff that I always want to do. That usually if we go back to campus, I wouldn't do that. I would just like, oh, skip it. But during quarantine, I really just find a new hobby actually. So I learned how to bake and I also learned how to make my own videos. So I think those are the
Huh?
two things that really keep me exciting and going through the pandemic.
Amazing. Thank you. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I'll post Vivian's blog post and why Ryerson in the chat. Um, I see Arwa's question about postgraduate programs. Unfortunately, we don't have any postgrad specifically, like all in French. I'll also note this webinar, we really are focusing on the undergraduate programs. So we're going to be talking a lot about those 4-year programs, not the masters. Any questions you have about master programs, we'll have a bunch of content on the website. It's called the Yates Graduate School. I can type that in the chat. And they have a contact that you could probably email to get more information. Unfortunately, I don't have all of the good details for those types of programs, but we do have master's programs generally. Next up, we have Zainab. Oh, no. Zainab is, sorry, there we go. Zainab is from Dubai, UAE, third year student in journalism. And a fun fact is that she's the president of the Journalism Course Union, editor in chief of her campus at Ryerson, and she's worked at several other publications on campus. Give it up for Zainab. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me, Derek. I'm so excited to be here. So, hi, everyone. Like Derek mentioned, my name is Zainab. I am from Dubai, which is where I am right now. Thus, the sun shining so bright on me, unlike our friends in Toronto covered in snow. So, yeah, I'm 9 hours ahead. It's been a fun ride. It's cool getting to do, school from a different location, but we'll get into that later. Yeah, I'm studying journalism, minoring, well, hoping to double minor in English and fashion. And I'm super involved on campus. So I'm really excited to talk about that a bit more.
Amazing. Yeah, I'm so envious of that, the sunshine. I'm like looking at waiting for the sun to peak if it ever will. But have you been doing anything to keep you busy other than school, of course, throughout the pandemic?
Oh my God, I'm so glad you asked because I took up pen paling and it's been so fun.
Wow.
Yeah, I feel like it's been so therapeutic, like decorating letters and like buying wax seals. I've always wanted to do them. I watched those videos of people like melting wax and then doing the stamps, and I've always wanted to do it. So yeah, I took up pen paling, I redecorated my room, and I started a job. So it's been busy, but it's been fun.
Wow. That's amazing. I'm like, not to age myself, but I'm like, I didn't know if like students nowadays would even know what pen paling is since everything is virtual, but it's cool that that's like a thing.
Yeah. It's been a good way to keep in touch with my friends back in Toronto. Like I sent them surprise letters and they were like, "Oh my goodness, we feel like we're in like a Jane Austen." Like I don't
Yeah.
know.
That's amazing. That's so cool. Awesome. So these are our three international student ambassadors, and just to kind of highlight what they do with our office, really they're there to provide that student perspective to any international student who's looking to apply to Ryerson, and as well they run our campus tours, which traditionally would be on campus. Now in 2020, they're done virtually. So I did drop the link already, but I'll throw that again. This will be for our virtual tours as well. You can book uh, any of the three for a one-on-one virtual meeting. So if you're a current high school student and you want to sit down, hear from our students, this is a great way for you to touch base. So now we're gonna jump into our questions. First off, I'm hoping that you could maybe briefly describe your program, what it focuses on, or maybe give us insight on like a really cool course you've taken, or I know Zainab, you said you're pursuing a minor, so maybe like give us a little bit of information on that. I'll start with Zainab since I've already introduced that.
Okay, awesome. So I'm in the journalism program, and essentially, I feel like a really big focus of it, even though it seems like self-explanatory, is making you like a real journalist. So you think like coming into it, sometimes people are like, yeah, you go into university to learn, to prepare for being a real journalist, but like day one, you're in there and they're like, you are a real journalist. Like you're not a journalist in the making, like you're a real one. And it's really cool. It's super hands-on. So right from your first year, first semester, you really get that on the ground, like you hit it running, and you get that experience, and you get to kind of experience all that stuff. And I think that's a really big part of why I also chose this. But again, I'll count it. I'm getting ahead of myself. But yeah, it's very hands-on. It's very experiential. It's really nice because you get to have all these different experiences. Um, and just in general, like you learn a lot more about yourself. Like, for example, I did not think in any way that I was going to be like a hard news journalist, which I still stand by. I don't think I'm going to be on your TV like telling you the breaking news any day, but it's nice to know that I can do it. And so I think a really big part of like this program is like, you know, making you a multifaceted journalist and diversifying like, you know, your options and like making you try new things, which I know like for me was a bit scary. I was like, I don't want to go into broadcast, so I don't want to like use any of this tech software, but now I'm glad I have those skills. So that's been fun. A course that I will super recommend, I actually took it this semester, and like despite it being like online Zoom University, it ran from like 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. for me, but I will still recommend this and say this is my favorite course. It's like an amazing professor. The course is called Critical and Opinion Writing. I believe the course code is JRN 509. Not 100% sure about the latter, but the professor is Kamal Al Soleili. He is amazing. He is like so wonderful. I could not recommend him enough to anybody looking to like either take a class as a minor or a major. Um, it's a really cool course. I love talking, so I love having opinions. Did not know I could really make a career out of it. I mean, I knew I could write a few op-eds, but you know, you can really be an opinion writer. But Kamal is great, teaches you a lot of cool stuff, and that's my recommendation that I'm going with. And then speaking about minors a little bit, so I kind of wanted, like, I knew I wanted to be a fashion journalist and kind of go into that. So funny thing, because like I applied for some programs that were just fashion journalism, and I was like, no, I don't want to be on like a one-track road just yet. So getting to do a minor was actually ideal because I got to have that experience, keep learning, while still doing journalism. And then I minored in English as well because I was confused between the journalism and the English program. And then when journalism won that battle, I was like, okay, we can do English as a minor. So that's kind of how I ended up there.
That's incredible. Thank you. And a fun fact, my brother also graduated from the journalism program, so I have ties to that. And then transitioning into hospitality and tourism management, my sister, she studied a similar program at another institution. And so I'm interested, given that you both study in that program, maybe you could each tell me a little bit about the program, but then maybe if you're familiar with each other's kind of specializations, like what kind of areas, do you focus on, Vivian versus Salome?
Yeah, for sure. Vivian, I'll just go ahead. So yeah, hospitality and tourism management, what's really great about our program is that it kind of has different branches. So it's not only hospitality sector, it's also the tourism sector. And then within that, there's also the restaurant sector. So that's what I really like about our program is how we have courses in each of the different areas. And so as you go on, as you progress throughout your years, you're able to kind of select courses that are within what your interests are. So for me personally, I'm more interested in the tourism sector. And so I've been taking a lot of courses that are like destination management, destination marketing, and things like that. But then there was also a period where I was like experimenting with like, oh, like maybe I'd be interested in going into food or something. So I did a restaurant operations course last semester on campus. And honestly, it was a lot of fun because that's another thing that's really cool about our program is that you get a lot of hands-on experiences. So for this course, one of our projects was to redesign a restaurant menu. So create our own menu items with the pricing and everything, but then we had to actually cook them in class. So each group had to cook their menu items, and then we had like a buffet in class where we had to like test them out. So yeah, that's something that I've been kind of experimenting with, but definitely for me, the tourism sector is more like what I'm trying to focus on.
Amazing. I think all three of you should do like a travel and food blog. Vivian, our expert foodie, tell us a little bit about your experience, like the program, what your specializations or interests lie in.
Absolutely. So Salome really just tell my part in terms of how diverse my program is. So it's not limiting to just hotel or restaurant that people usually think of. we go beyond that. And I would say hospitality and tourism is a lot about customer service. So we genuinely want people to feel happy. And I guess like all of the students within the program can agree with me on this. So that's why we just want to make people happy and care for the destinations. So for my specialty, I think from my first year, actually, I already developed my interest for hotels and doing sales. So that's how most of my courses throughout the years are about lodging management. And I'm actually taking a sales class as well. I'm also trying different area of sales, like in terms of event branding. And next semester, hopefully, I have a spot in the advertising class as well, so I can fully complete my portion of hospitality and sales. Um, and one of the courses that I really, really want to share to the world to know about it, because it's the first one in Canada. Ryerson is the first university in Canada to have a sales course like this. So I kind of wanted to share about it. It's HTM 604 Hospitality Sales. It was brand new actually. I just in love with it, in love with the fact that we have a sales training program that I actually have to do an elevator pitch, and I have to do actual cold call sale with industry leader. I never thought there was a day that I will actually pick my phone and call people that I never met before to make some kind of sales. So that was interesting, and that was really pushing me out of my comfort zone. And I love the fact that our program just has so much opportunity to push everyone out of the comfort zone and reach to the new limit.
First I'll say, like, to connect all of your points, it does sound like, your programs are very hands-on. They're very industry focused. And from my perspective, I did graduate from Ryerson studying urban and regional planning, and so for me, I chose Ryerson because it was in Toronto, and I'm from Toronto, so I'm not a cool international student. But I think why I chose Ryerson was because of the program. There weren't many programs that or sorry, institutions that offer urban planning. And I think you could say the same about hospitality and tourism and journalism at the university level. But then as well, that like hands-on experiential learning. Can you three tell me a little bit about why you chose Ryerson? Maybe we'll go back to Vivian and then Salome Zaina.
So I'm just gonna say that the reason why I choose Ryerson is very similar to you, Derek. I actually choose Ryerson because, so first of all, I choose it because of Toronto, Canada. So I'm actually looking at the location where I will be, and I just love the diversity and inclusivity that Toronto have. I love it. I want to be in a place that everyone is welcome to be who they are and to learn about other cultures. And then as I do my research, Ryerson is only one of the few university level, one of the few institutions that offer hospitality and tourism in a bachelor degree. So that also fit what my mom's want and what I want, because she obviously wanted me to do something with the bachelor. So that's awesome. And yeah, just the last point is I choose Ryerson because of all of these amazing career exposure opportunity. So every day, like I could just find a lot of job opportunities sent out to my mailbox. It's also very handy to find internship even in during COVID time. Also like co-op placement is another thing that really big here at Ryerson, and those are the three things that really bring me to Ryerson today.
How about you, Salome?
Yeah, so kind of similar to what Vivian was saying, I would say the program was a big thing for me because Ryerson was the first university to offer hospitality and tourism management in Canada as a degree. So that was kind of one aspect that kind of drew me to Ryerson, is that, typically hospitality and tourism management, you would see it in colleges or offered as kind of like a specialized diploma or something. And so I was more interested in getting a degree in Bachelor of Commerce. And yeah, for me, same as Vivian, it was a lot about the location because I had never come to Canada before. And then a year before, like when I was trying to do my application process, I decided to come visit Canada just to see, because I was like applying to Canada without having ever been here. So like, why, like, I don't know the place, like I should check it out. And so I came to visit and I did a campus tour, and that's when I was just like, okay, I want to be here because I just really like that it's like a city and it's really multicultural. Like I like I like that it's not just like an isolated location. And so that's kind of what drew me to Ryerson specifically. Yeah.
How about you, Zainab?
Okay, so I think talking about like what drew me to Ryerson, obviously a really big part of it was the hands-on learning because all throughout high school I was like, I'm so sick of books, please, like I don't want to study all day long. And probably that was in part because I had to do math and science, and I was clearly an English girl. But I think the hands-on learning really helped. I am somebody that likes to do things and likes to actively learn. And I think that's how I learn best. And the fact that Ryerson was so hands-on, so experiential, I loved that. Another really big factor was actually the city life because I come from a really busy city that is always alive. So Dubai is always so busy and lively, and there's so much to do. And I knew that I needed to go someplace where like I could mirror that feeling a little bit to help me assimilate and just kind of adjust. Um, and I probably didn't realize just how much Toronto was like Dubai because I got there and I was like, oh my God, the city never sleeps. It's like Times Square, like it's alive, like young Dundas. I walked out and I was like, oh my goodness, I feel like I'm in New York when I first walked out of the TDC with my dad. So yeah, the city life really helped, the hands-on learning, and it was definitely very highly reputed when it came to the journalism program or like in general. Because it's funny, like I say this to everyone, like one of my uncles actually like put it on my radar because Ryerson was like on a list that I had, like a big list. But one of my uncles was like, actually, that school, he's like, Ryerson, you should look into them like properly, like check it out. He's like, I think they're really great for journalism. Um, and so it was just like really well known, and it really helped because I was like, okay, like I'm sure they're doing something great. And everyone seemed to really like know about them. And like everyone's like, that's a great journalism school, like you should look into it. And then like when I dug deeper, I fell in love, and here I am 3 years later.
That's really cool to hear about like that word of mouth and family connection. And it's interesting you bring up New York, so I was gonna ask you three like why Toronto versus like London, New York. There's so many big cities and so many amazing kind of destinations to study abroad. Maybe can you quickly tell me like why Toronto? I'll start with Salome, because you're currently in Toronto. We'll go to you.
Yeah, I like what Zainab said about like feeling like she was in New York, because I actually like to call this like mini New York. That's kind of what I like about Toronto, is that it's, even though it's a big city, um it doesn't feel like it's that big. Like once you're here, I don't know, I think other people would agree with me, but once you're here, it more so feels like a community. Like it doesn't feel, you don't feel like you're in this huge city the same way I do if I'm like visiting New York or one of those other big cities like London that you mentioned. And so that's what I think is kind of unique about Toronto. Like everything is kind of, especially because Ryerson is at the heart of the city, you're kind of in the center of everything. And I don't know, it just feels like it's not as big. And if you do want to explore outside of the city, it's like so easy to get there. So that's kind of what I like about Toronto specifically. Yeah.
Yeah, how about you, Vivian? How did you land? You've told me this before, but for everyone else, like, what made you land on Toronto versus other, cities and countries?
So what I love the most about Toronto is again the energy of the city that I see. So Hanoi, where I'm at right now with Toronto, they have different energies. So every time I travel to a new places, I would just feel like whether it will be a chills and peaceful place or it will be a dynamic and juiceful place. So Toronto to me is something very special in that term. It's a blend of everything that I can think of. I mean, as Salome say, it's a busy city, but then you always have that kind of space for yourself. So I never feel like I have to rush myself to see something or to do something. I always have that feeling like getting motivated by other people who around me. They're so energetic. Even like the to from young to old, everyone I met just had this really, really big energy of like they're ready for the next big thing. And I really love that kind of energy. Like I want to be surrounded by that kind of energy. And also, Toronto is just a big economic hub. That's what I have to say. Economy grows so well in here. One of the actually, I think it's one of the largest economy hub in North America. So you can just see how fast the city grows, and love how many job opportunities are available for students, especially with Ryerson, since we have like so extensive hand-on experience. Students take the best of that and just have hand-on experience and know what they're doing even before they graduate.
And so Zainab, you said, I guess your uncle was it who told you about Ryerson? Were you considering any other places, destinations?
Yeah, it's funny because so I was actually looking at the States as my first priority because my brother's in LA. Well, he was studying there, which was really cool. And then I was looking at London and the UK because they offer fashion journalism because a lot of the fashion schools are there. And so primarily, like the States and the UK were on my radar. And I was like, maybe Canada, like who knows? And then I think like when I started digging deeper, just like weighing all my options, like it just fell together. Like if I would look at one place, like I'd look at some place in the States, I'd be like, okay, they have this, but they're lacking this. And then I'd look at London, I'm like, great, this is what I want to do, but I'd be on a one-track road. And then it's just like when I looked at Toronto, it was like everything fell together. And it was crazy because like I'd been to the States a lot, so I knew what I was getting into. I'd been to London a lot, I knew what I was getting into, but I'd never visited Canada before I came for university, which is like so funny and so crazy. But I genuinely think like when it came down to everything and I was like putting my applications in and I got my acceptances, I was like, no, it just seems like Ryerson was literally made for me. And I say that to everyone now. I'm like, I couldn't imagine going anywhere else. Like it just fits my persona. It's like they were like, okay, let's take Zainab's personality type, let's blow it up into like a university, and this is what it is.
With Canada, especially over the past few years, it's really come as a destination for students. I think it's increasingly on everyone's radar. And for people joining us who don't really know the benefits of Canada, I think, like you've all mentioned, it's that diversity piece, it's that quality of living, but as well in terms of like, for the parents who really want to ensure their kids are going to be successful, there's a lot of job opportunities, both when you're in school and when you're finished school. So, talking a little bit about the post graduation work permit, it's a really great program that our government offers for graduates that allow our international students to stay in Canada for upwards to 3 years. And then after those 3 years, they can continue to pursue a permanent residency, like a pathway to residency. So that's one really great thing that we have to offer in Canada. And then when it comes to Toronto, like if you want a fun place to study, Toronto is where it's at. Um, Unfortunately, it's a little bit different right now than when it was in your first year. But maybe we can uh, transition into what it's like to study at home, given that two of you are joining us from completely different time zones, and then Salome, you're working from, is it your apartment? Like they're not ideal study conditions. I'm curious, just first off, like what is it like to study at home and try to do your full course load?
I love that questions a lot because I also have that questions coming from my friend as well. So I would say it's definitely a challenge for me at first. Within the first 2 months, I feel like I work, I study, and then I'm kind of cry at the midnight because, oh my God, there's so many things to adjust into. But I'm so grateful that I still have so many resources and support from Ryerson and from my own faculty that actually they are always there to support me mentally and academically. I'm really grateful for that. So I remember one time I having kind of like a crisis in my mid of the semesters that I have too many commitments for student group, but I also have a lot of semester like the written assignment due within the semester, and the time zone differences now is like 12 hours, so it's a bit difficult to attend a class in the afternoon. So within that crisis, I feel like I'm gonna break down, to be honest. But I'm so glad that I still have access to the resources on campus. So let's just say the Academic Success Center, I can still book an appointment with them and have a study group with my people online. So just by seeing my friend like virtually on the screen and have a talk together, topic, I feel like I'm getting down. So okay, this assignment is not that hard. I'm just panicking. It's not that hard. And then for the student group, I talk to them and I'm start making my calendar down. So I'm start making plan down. So everything just seems like it's falling into order. So it's all well controlled now. So I feel like I'm getting really, really, really ready for my winter semester, even though it's online. And yeah, and I feel like coming out of this virtual school, I feel like I'm going to become much more adaptive, so I can adapt to more different working environment. And yeah, online wouldn't scare me anymore. It used to scare me so much because I'm used to seeing people and talking to them, but now I guess virtually still work. I can still see and talk to people, so it's all good.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for sharing that. I think it's a really good story to share because I think a lot of students, whether they're international or not, like they have issues kind of asking for help or seeking those support. So you should be very proud that you caught the issue, you found the remedy. Zainab, how's it like to study in Dubai?
It's been really good. So I think in the start, like I was still living in Toronto time. So like I was in Dubai, but I was still living in your time zone. So I would like wake up at like 4, which was like around 8 a.m. for you. And then I would like stay up through the night and go to bed at like 10 a.m. But like that was my own doing. Like I remember, so I had a lab that ran from 2 to 5 in the morning. And like the professor asked all of us, she sent out a Google form. She's like, I want to know where you are in the world right now, what your time difference is, which was really nice. Firstly, like right off the bat. And like when I filled out the form, she sent me an email and she was like, you do not need to come to class. You can watch the recorded like lectures and we can have a one-on-one meeting every week to make sure like you're good. And I was like, that's like so nice, but like I prefer coming to class, so I'm gonna come. I was like, I need to be around other people to be motivated. But I was like, and if it doesn't work, like I'll let you know. So in the start, like I was like, no, I don't need it, like any help. I don't need any accommodations. Like I can do this. And that's how I was living until I got a day job here. And I was like, okay, need to have a routine down, need to be like a normal person. But honestly, it's been good. It's been an adjustment, but I'm really glad that like firstly I get to be at home at such a weird time. Like I think if I was 14 hours away from my parents, I would be like more worried and like stressed out. Like, oh my God, I'm so far from them. Like, are they okay? That sort of thing. So it's been nice to actually be at home and be in the comfort of family because I'm not like really seeing friends or anything. So it's nice to kind of have that company with family. And I think it's really, really nice that professors are so empathetic and accommodating. Like that was one example where like I had a prof be like, you don't have to go to class. Another one was I have a class with, and my professor is actually the chair of the journalism program. Um, and she was doing like check-ins during our class time slot, which runs from 7 to 9 p.m. for me. And I signed up for a time slot at like 8:30 p.m. And she sent me an email and she was like, that's smack like at dinner time, like at night for you. She's like, why don't we do it like tomorrow in the like afternoon for you? So like 7 a.m. for me, let's do it like 4 p.m. for you. And like she emailed me and a very big part of like something that I do want to say later on is like ask for help and that sort of thing. But it's so nice when people reach out to you and they're like, do you need this help? Like it's okay to take it. Like here, does this work better? And I think it's been really, really nice that people are so proactive. They're so empathetic. Like it's not, because sometimes I know it's difficult to be like, oh, can I have that extension? Like this runs through the night for me, or like, oh, this is just like not a good time. Like I'm eating dinner. But it's nice when professors come out there and they're like, you can ask us for help. Like we're here for you. So it's been really good, honestly. Like I feel like I've adjusted to it. I kind of love it. Like I'm not gonna lie. Like I I'm not gonna say I prefer it, but it's like as good as being in person because I get to sleep in. I'm not a morning person, so the classes being a little later work out great for me.
Yeah, I think that everyone's in this together. Like it's not like you're an anomaly, you're studying remotely and everyone else is in class. Like um, we're all like I'm working from home, professors are teaching from home, and so like even though we're in the same time zone, there's still struggles and so hopefully, the professors at Ryerson, they're there to help and support and accommodate these students, especially the ones who are joining from many different time zones away. It's like you two lived like double lives. You have your like school in one time zone and then your real life in the
Yeah.
other. Salome, did you have to go home to Barbados in March? Like, were you doing a bit of study remotely, or have you been in Toronto mostly?
Yeah, so I did go back to Barbados in March. So the end of last semester, so when everything moved remotely. And there wasn't an issue with time zone difference because it's the same time zone as here. But yeah, I'd say like it was definitely an adjustment. And I think, especially at the end of last semester, it was kind of everyone was trying to struggle, everyone was kind of struggling to figure out how they were going to make things work virtually. So that's why I think it was like a big adjustment. I think now this semester, professors had time to prepare for the virtual world. And, as time goes on, professors are learning and things like that. So it's getting better and better. I find, personally, I think it can be challenging, just because, finding that motivation. Like, I find that being in person and seeing all your friends in class, I feel like there is a virtual, like personal aspect, in breakout rooms on Zoom, and you can still communicate with your friends. But I just find that it's not the same thing as being in person on campus. So that's the one thing. But I have to say, I'm pretty impressed at how well Ryerson, or, just professors at Ryerson are able to like switch things to online learning. Like, I'm really impressed because for a lot of my classes, we still have a lot of engagement. There's a lot of like activities and different things that we do where, like breakout rooms or polling and things like that. But also just even events that they move online. I'm like, wow, you guys, you didn't just stop all your events. You figured out how to put it online in a way that's still engaging. So yeah, honestly, I'm pretty impressed. And yeah, it's been a journey, and I think that we're all kind of slowly getting the hang of it. So yeah.
Watch the moment we get used to it, everything's gonna go back to the way it used to be. That's great to hear. I acknowledging that time is running up. I feel like we just started. Maybe we can end on, an inspiring note. Given that you all started university in person, so you do have that experience, fortunately. But for our high school students who are tuning in, who potentially might have to start their freshman year, their first year virtually, do you have a piece of advice that you could give them to for both like the application and then doing well in their first year, given that you've gone through at this point almost like a full year virtually, and you're near the end of your degree?
So I think the advice I would give is like, I know it might not seem ideal, but like it's an experience nonetheless. And like, I guarantee you, like Ryerson are working every day towards making sure that it's a good one. And so like, make use of it, like whether that's joining like student groups or clubs like online virtually, like finding their Instagrams and like DMing them, or just like getting involved when you see like call outs. Join that stuff, attend events virtually, join group chats, like just get involved, because then you kind of do have the feel as though you're on campus, because that's a lot of the things that like used to matter and like be up and running over there that like I was involved in and that sort of thing. And then another little tidbit I would give in terms of like navigating like a virtual world is like being transparent. So like if that means like you're in a different time zone, like tell your professor and your TAs like at the beginning of the semester so they're aware of your situation. And like tell all the teams that you're a part of so that they know not to expect a reply at like 3 in the morning. And then I guess cliche, but very, very important to say, like ask for help, because like it's okay too. There's so many people are willing to help. So it's just important that you do that. But I would say don't sweat it too much. It will be a fun ride. I'm actually really enjoying myself. So I promise you, like, you'll love it.
Amazing. How about you, Vivian?
So my sister actually, she also started her university this year virtually. So from her experience, I think the first bit of advice that I would like to give would be on on the application process. So be aware of the time differences and the calendar. So what I would advise is actually getting yourself a mini notebook with full calendar, so you can mark off the exact time, the exact date translated to your time zone so that you don't miss a thing. I mean, Google Calendar can be another way option as well. It's just like for me and my sister, we found that paper calendar work better in that way. So do check out, be aware of the time differences, and do note down the date that's important to you within the application process. And then I think the second bit of advice for me is very similar to Zainab, is also ask for help. I mean, even though we're moving virtually, Ryerson people, like, I mean, with the Ryerson community, we are so ready to help. So you just need to reach out, really. You just, if you have any questions or concern, like just like me, I don't know what I'm doing. There's a lot of people there to help and just want to talk to you. So make use of that, and you have such a fun experience, even though everything is virtually. So that's my
That's
advice.
amazing. And say hi to your sister for me. I hope she's having a good first year despite, studying remotely.
Yes, she did. Thanks, yeah. She
Good.
actually joined a lot of events, so she feel connected.
Good. That's good to hear. And lastly, but not least, Salome, any pieces of wisdom and advice for incoming students?
Yeah, I would say a big thing for me is establishing a routine. So I would say definitely if you're going to be studying remotely for the first time, that could really help. Just kind of establishing a routine so when you're going to be doing what. And then I like what Zainab said about being transparent, just like communicating and setting boundaries, I think is a big thing, especially, if you have group projects and things like that, because especially in the virtual world, I think it's easy for people to kind of blend school and work or like life, it's just everything is kind of blended together now because you're not going to work and then coming home. You're not going to school and then coming home. It's everything is in the same space. So kind of setting those boundaries so that, people know when or when not to reach out to you, when you're going to be doing work, when you're not going to be doing work. I think that's a big thing as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think time management is like such a key thing in order to like meet those time zones, like Vivian mentioned, to, have those boundaries, like Salome and Zainab have mentioned, like and trying to allocate your days so that you're not trying to do everything. Be realistic, right? Like you're just a person, you're you're gonna have mistakes, but I think as soon as you like can set expectations on what is possible and what's not, and you communicate those with your professors and your classmates, then hopefully you'll find a good system that works, and hopefully we won't have to endure this too much longer. And I know that hopefully you're gonna come to Toronto at some point to study. Thank you so much, all three of you. This has been really a really great way to start the morning. I really appreciate your time and joining us from all corners of the world. It's great to see you. Unfortunately, we don't get to see each other on campus, but this has been very refreshing, and I hope you had fun sharing your stories today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us, Derek. We had a lovely time. It's always fun to talk about Ryerson.
Yeah, thank you, Derek. I had such a fun time after dinner. Thank you.
Thank you, Derek.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a great rest of your day, everyone. Thank you to everyone who joined us today. I'll throw in the last link, which is a great way to meet our international student ambassadors. So you can go to our website, which is ryerson.ca/international/admissions, and you can actually schedule our awesome international student ambassadors for a 30-minute one-on-one. You can also find our team members who are recruitment officers if you would like to hear from them. And good luck with your applications and good luck with the rest of the year. Thank you so much, everyone. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.